everyone, welcome back to the Take 4 podcast, episode 6, where we are going to cover the topic of drinking in our 30s. But actually, it's not just bound to our 30s. We are going to talk about drinking in general. Mostly was done in our 20s for some of us, and the 30s look very different. But I would like to open it up to all of us here, weirdly enough, on very different journeys, some of us spiritual, some of us physical, fitness, etc. And drinking is a really big part of worldwide culture. But actually, people who live in the UK and as Brits, we're actually known for our drinking. And we're actually known for being obnoxious drinkers. And actually in Europe, wherever you go, I know I particularly avoid places where you're like, definitely don't go there. That's Brits abroad. Or when you go to places and you're like, oh my goodness, like we're so, like it's so nice to see a Brit who's not drunk and falling over. Yeah. So that is the reputation we have. And so I'd probably like to open it up for discussion here. And what does drinking look like for us today? And what has it looked like previously?
Oh man.
Don't anyone rush
okay, who remembers their first drink?
Oh yeah, I do.
Go on.
Yeah, I had some good whiskey with my dad on my 13th birthday.
That's illegal, isn't it?
Possibly. But this is what I mean. Like, look, I say this, right?
You can't say that.
It's the truth. Look, our family, right? We were like from Nigeria, but we lived in the country. So like everybody, like there's people offering you drinks at like 6 a.m. They start early, finish whenever. So yeah, and I mean even then, like it wasn't like I had a whole like whiskey. He just gave me a sip and then told me to go.
You're just trying to dig yourself out of this now.
No, that's literally what happened. I was 13. He was like,
So how did you feel about it? What was the experience?
It smelled really bad.
Yeah. How did it taste? Do you remember?
Disgusting.
Can you describe the taste?
Disgusting.
Because I remember when I first tried whiskey, it's like licking pencil.
Literally is bad.
Have you ever licked a pencil?
All the time.
Yeah. It literally tasted.
You're telling me to cut. That's a cut right there.
I mean, oh God. Get your head out the gutter.
That was my first experience with whiskey.
Licking pencils.
What was yours?
Look, I grew up in Kenya, and again, Kenya is, Nairobi is a city that's known to party from Sunday to Sunday. And so probably you can agree with that, coming from Nigeria. But so drinking was part of our culture from a very early age. Yeah. But I think the best thing was that my parents there was never a taboo around it. Yeah. So I think my first drink ever was a Malibu and pineapple juice or something really girly, which was
I would throw a phase of Malibu and pineapple juice,
which is good, right? It sort of eases you into it, but because it was so readily available at home and the drinks cabinet was we had a beautiful bar at home. How old were you? Probably
like the first sip.
Probably 13, 14 as well. So I'm sorry, I actually thought about it and I realized it was probably a similar age, but because it was never a taboo at home.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever felt like I needed to go to university and go wild.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Literally, because again, there was, like my first year in drama school, like everybody, and then actually funny thing, I still had a karate license and I had a boxing license, so I was still actively competing when I was in drama school. For the first year, because I didn't want to pay so much of a student loan, so I wasn't actually drinking and doing all these crazy things that these like young actors were doing. That happened in the second year, but the first year, like people were just going way too overboard, and I do think because I had that experience early on, like my dad would play pranks on me sometimes. Like he'd be like, "Yeah, Mark, come here, son, taste this," right? Like one time he gave me this like little bit, and I hate Guinness. Honestly, since then I'm still. It looks like chocolate,
but it tastes nasty.
It tastes like some it's just this weird concoction of, I don't know, someone's,
It's like mud. It's
Yeah.
like drinking mud.
or like bad odor from a place you really don't
Sorry
want
to
to be.
all our Irish fans.
I'm not even a drinker, and I actually like Guinness.
No, it's
And-
disgusting.
and
It's disgusting.
It's actually.
It's-
I heard it's like the healthiest beer.
Yeah, I think
is,
it's
yeah.
was it
It's-
iron
it's
or
disgusting.
Iron, it
Yeah.
generates
You guys gotta
appetite.
get with that Guinness.
It's disgusting.
It's like a meal.
I
It's,
will
it
never-
literally is a meal.
I've been traumatized from that experience, and I've never tasted Guinness after that. To this day.
What about you on a fitness side of things? So like stepping away from like our first drinks,
Okay.
what is your attitude towards drinking today as someone whose life is dedicated to fitness 7 days a week and
What?
competing professionally?
As weird as it sounds, like, you know, whenever my dad would drink excessively and things like that. So whenever I pick up a drink, I just see him, and that just stops me right there. So I had a champagne at this charity event, and that was probably the first drink I had in 2 years.
Just recently.
Yeah.
And what change did you see in your father when he was drinking, and how did that impact your family?
My father was a very hardworking man, so I visualize him coming home. I take off his muddy work boots, and he would what I like to say, he's more like a he wouldn't be an aggressive like alcoholic man, but I would just see there were instances where I seen the aggression, and I seen him hit my mom and stuff like that. So I don't want to paint a picture like he's this horrible person, but I just didn't like what he became when he was drinking too much. So it just steers me away. So beyond fitness, it's more of like, it's not even the fitness reasoning behind me not
More
drinking.
life.
It's more of a what you've experienced and don't want to repeat in your own life. It's funny because a lot of our early friendship days,
A lot of bonding was done
a lot
over.
of bonding was done around alcohol. And I
Yeah.
think Vari and I used to work in private equity, and we worked for a very famous ex-Dragon's Den star, and we worked in his private equity house. And so there was a
I
big...
think the important part of it was the location. We were in Mayfair.
We were in Mayfair, in
Mayfair,
London.
there was plenty of places to go to, and after works, drinks.
But that was a big part of our work culture,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So like that world, it was drinks every Thursday, Friday.
Yeah, I remember they had this little patio, and there was always some sort of event taking place. Event with alcohol, open bar. And you would kind of show up as meat in the room, basically, to fill the area with people, and you'd always end up having a drink, and then one drink, another drink. And I used to be so awkward in social situations, and I felt really hard to connect with people. I felt really shy. So alcohol would always help with making the environment a little bit more comfortable.
It was your liquid courage.
Yeah, liquid courage, and maybe lack of, like I said, self-confidence. I felt I didn't have much to add as a sober person. So as an intoxicated person in the room, you lowered the inhibitions, and you were less self-aware, and it was just a little bit more bearable being in that environment. So yeah, there was definitely a lot of that.
Did you find that there was like a disproportionate amount of male attention that was always linked to us being out there and drinking?
Absolutely. I mean, what comes with alcohol, in my self-reflection, a lot of bad decisions, a lot of poor decisions. Knows that?
Huh? Nothing? That D.
That D.
That's just-
Yeah. A lot of, questionable decisions, and I don't think it's no news for anyone who's ever gotten drunk or had one too many, and maybe their decisions have been affected by the alcohol rather than what they stand for, their core values, their confidence. So looking back at my 20s, there was definitely a lot of kind of that self-discovery, once again, lack of confidence, and with the help of alcohol, I kind of was slowly discovering myself, whilst now realizing I couldn't be further away from my true self. Yeah, and looking back at the 20s was a really confusing time, and the alcohol definitely didn't help with that confusion.
I think it was for me a little bit, and it's funny because a lot of that we experienced together, and so a lot of those times we were together drinking out there, and I always think it's a bit of a blur for me actually, because realistically I'm not much of a drinker, and I think I tried very hard to drink in order to feel like I could keep up with people, and to keep up with this girl, nobody can do it. Like, I just don't know where she puts it.
Well, I'm tall and I'm pretty big, so.
But I think
it's physics.
But also your tolerance is somewhat higher.
Yeah.
A lot higher, and so
it used to be. I'm no longer drinking.
And how long has that been?
4.5 years. So 4.5 years ago, I decided to start with a dry January, which became dry February, March, April, May, and all of a sudden, it's 4 years, and we're going on my 5th year, and I'm not looking back to those days, and definitely happier and feeling better about the sober life.
Yeah, we were quite. When we first met, it was like, she's like, "Oh, do you drink?" And I'm like, "No." She's like, "What?" It's like, it's so ironic that she stopped drinking and I'm not a drinker. So I'm more of an eater.
It's interesting because when I was drinking, this is the thing that you will attract what you put out there. Yeah. When I was drinking, I would always attract people that were into drinks, nightlife, going out. The moment I became sober, the moment I started paying more attention to my mental health, once again, discovering my true self, I started attracting completely different set of people. To the point where I kept on meeting people that weren't actually drinking alcohol. And I was like, this is fascinating, because I always used to meet people that would be like, "Oh, can we go out for a drink?" And now I keep on discovering these people that don't drink, never drank, or don't like the alcohol.
Well, it's the energy that you're attracting.
And exactly, and 100%. And I kept on thinking like, well, this is so true. Like, what you put out there, you attract.
You manifest it.
Yeah.
It's funny, when I came to England for the first time, I was 20 years old. And I remember going to you guys have like the off-license shops. And we call them the corner shop. Maybe you guys call it the same. But anyway, in America, you go to the shops, whether it's your local grocery store or, gas station. And when you go in, you just see food everywhere in America. When I first came here, I went to the shop and I'm like, wine,
where's the food?
Beers. It's like one section of candy, drinks everywhere. And I'm like, where's the food? Exactly. So it's wild.
Yeah, it is. There is definitely a very big drinking culture. Also,
100%.
Here you can drink from an earlier age.
Yeah, 21 in America.
21 in America.
Yeah.
So, but also weirdly enough, I think, back to what I was saying, I think if you inhibit someone, you have a bit more of an issue with it. So in this country, not that it's sort of helped us, but I think you can technically have a drink if you have parents with you at 16.
Yes, you can.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it sort of starts opening you up to that.
Yeah.
But it can work in two ways. It can work in, like it did with me and actually my siblings. So I think my parents absolutely did that right, which was, you know what, it's here and you don't need to feel like you have to hide to drink. But so don't get like too wild about it. So, but I did. Like I had some wild moments, and I think I very quickly realized that actually, and now looking back at it, and as I become more spiritual in my life, I follow, my faith is Christianity, and I follow the Bible, and I do other religious texts too. But in this instance, it says drink, but do not get drunk, and that is a distinction where you can have a drink as long as you're able to control not being drunk, because that is where being drunk is where you lower your spiritual, emotional, vibrational energy. And that is what Varya talks about, where lowering your vibrational energy often means that you're doing it in environments where you have other people who have lower vibrational energy, like bars, like clubs,
Nightlife, yeah.
nightlife, things that happen in the dark. And I'm not saying that these things are bad. Please don't get me wrong, because
I am.
what?
I don't know, I feel
because-
nothing good happens
am.
after midnight. Like
I'm saying
literally
it's bad.
nothing
Songs
good
have been
happens.
written
There's
about
a
it.
reason why they call it spirits.
Yeah.
Do you understand why?
No.
Because it weakens your spiritual vibration, so demons and dark entities can take over you, and you make bad decisions. So essentially, when you drink too much, you're not yourself. You're not your true self. Whether your ego gets inflated and you think you're, the best thing since sliced bread, next you know you made these horrible decisions. How many times have you heard stories of people waking up the next day and they're just like, Jesus Christ.
I feel like I wouldn't be in half of my relationships if I was sober
Yeah.
during my 20s. The relationships that were started and lasted sometimes for several years,
Yeah.
where the foundation was built on night out,
Yeah.
on drinks, and looking back, half of them wouldn't have survived a week, let alone a year.
Exactly. And I'm also with Cav, where she said, what she's basically saying is, have a drink, have fun, but don't take it to the, the next level.
And if you feel that you are always taking it to the next level, you have a problem.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't be drinking because you have an addiction.
Yeah. Yeah.
But actually, what really makes me question things is like this collective acceptance that society and the world has towards the most addictive drug.
Oh my god, this is so funny because you are made feel bad about not drinking. How wild is this?
Yeah.
How often people tell you like, "What? Go and have a drink." It's poison.
Yeah.
Why should I be
But,
poisoning
and
myself?
why is it more acceptable to say, and alcohol is the most addictive drug?
Oh, really? I didn't
It
know
is. It is. There is more alcohol-related problems in this world
Yeah.
than there are other drugs. In a social setting, you would be able to say, "Oh, come on,
Yeah.
have one more."
Yeah.
"Oh, come on, you're not going home, are you?" But it's not socially acceptable to be
cab.
like, "Hey, can I hold your hair back and take a line?"
Yeah. Yeah,
Sure, in some environments that happens,
Some
but
environments it
cocaine,
does.
like it's like drugs. Yes,
Yeah.
there is also that pressure of drugs. I'm not gonna reduce that, but I'm talking about in a social setting, in a work environment,
Yeah.
with your boss. With
Yeah,
why
it's
is it
globally
okay? Why is it
accepted.
okay
It's
to
globally
push
accepted, yeah, for sure.
alcohol, but it's not okay to push something that's less addictive like cocaine or MDMA or whatever else it is?
Well, there is the legal aspect, right? So that's something that courts decide, right? You got your bands of drugs, your class A's, B's, and C's, and stuff like that.
But why is alcohol legalized? Because you get taxed.
Yeah.
Why are they trying to? Why are we trying to legalize drugs? Why are we trying to legalize drugs so that governments can get tax money on it?
True.
It becomes a very lucrative.
Well,
prospect.
yeah, drugs is. I mean, it is a very, very.
Well,
lucrative-
think about it. Like, the only medicine you need is exercise and a good diet.
Yeah.
If you really think
But
about it.
also, like a lot of these substances, they play on your insecurities.
Yeah.
Why do we smoke? Why do we drink? Because we are so disconnected from our true selves. We are suffering. We are struggling with things, and rather than dealing with those things, we decide to numb ourselves. We decide to
Escape.
bring out
Trying to
certain
find
things in
escape.
ourselves by taking these substances. And literally the cure would be developing a better relationship with yourself, developing that honest relationship with, once again, yourself and people around you. But instead of doing that, we spend a vast amount of money on night outs, hiding behind drinks, hiding behind drugs, whatever, cigarettes, and completely avoiding the work that needs to be done,
Yeah.
which is actually cheaper than spending all that money on alcohol. And it's also funny how we deem this as fun. This is like the wild thing.
Yeah.
Like I used to like, oh, let's go out and have fun. And that included like consuming a lot of alcohol and making questionable decisions, and then hopefully waking up the next day not having done anything stupid or lost any of your stuff, to then get on the phone and talk to your girlfriend about all the wild stuff that you did, and then laugh about it.
I do find it entertaining though watching drunk people. obviously because okay, so basically one part of my side hustle is I work in private security. I'm on call right now with a private security in London. I do a little bit of work here and there. Sometimes they get me to run the teams, other times they'll get me to actually do jobs and stuff. So I mean you see a lot, I think, and especially because obviously like the type of people he looks after, his kind of clientele, like, you know, they're millionaires. So it's always just like, for me, it's entertainment. It's people watching.
But how
you know?
sad that is that we find other people like disregarding their true selves and acting out of character as fun.
Yeah.
It's, to me, it's just like, once again, yeah, we deem like we gotta question like why do we deem certain things fun? Because I think there is fun in life, but it shouldn't come at other people's expense.
Yeah.
So when the source of entertainment is other person making a fool of themselves, or
I mean,
yeah.
if they want to be the fool,
But nobody
then-
ever wants to be the fool.
Some people do.
Everybody goes out and they're like, I'm gonna have a couple of drinks, and you don't know what the reason is for having those drinks. Some of them are having a bad day, they want to drink the day away. Somebody is going through a heartbreak. Somebody is like, I need to loosen up. I don't have the confidence. I just want to.
disagree though. Sometimes it's just not that deep. Sometimes it's just like, look, you know what? I just want to have a drink.
Yeah, you want to have a
Abs-
drink, but you don't want to end up becoming the butt of a joke. So you don't want to be that guy that goes viral on internet because you've done something
Yeah, but-
so
that's the
stupid.
con-
No. But that's not always a consequence. Sometimes you can just go out, have fun with some cool people, and like that can be that.
What is fun? Like this is what I mean. Like why can't you have that fun without alcohol?
Well, you can have fun without the alcohol.
But he's the Yak King.
Yeah, look, 90% of my life is
The
nightlife.
Yak King.
So like again, my thing is just like, well, look, like you can look. Is it possible to have fun without alcohol? Yeah. Is it possible to have fun with alcohol? Yeah.
You know, there's
Like,
something
I'm
that- being raised Buddhist, there's something that I'd like to share with you guys that might make a bit more sense. I truly believe evil shouldn't exist on this planet. Like evil, like pedophilia, rapists, stuff like that. I think those people should be put in like a separate place on planet Earth and fend for themselves. But if we talk about bad and good, like say someone was drinking and they made a bad decision, like maybe they did something that they didn't.
Oh, they hit somebody with a car.
Whatever. Well, if we go to that, that's far. My best friend died by getting hit by a drunk driver and broke his neck, and he died at 26 years old. So I'm not talking about that level.
But that guy was having fun somewhere at some
No.
stage before he got behind the wheel. So this is what I mean.
He definitely wasn't having fun. That guy was probably miserable and hated his life. That's why he was going 98 miles per hour down a road.
Or they could have been looking at
and
their
hit my best
phone.
friend.
Like, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, not to diminish
Let me
but,
bring it
yeah.
back because I don't want to go that deep, okay, about it. It's not necessary. The point that I'm trying to make is there is good and bad on planet Earth. And the bad sometimes is the teacher that can teach you the lessons to make better decisions. Sometimes you can find that lesson through a bad night drinking. I'm personally speaking, I have never tried a drug that didn't come from Earth. I've tried shrooms, I've tried ayahuasca, I've tried changa, I've tried a beer. I've never done any hardcore drugs from ecstasy or anything like that. It just doesn't align with me. But when it's all said and done, this isn't going to fix the problem. People are always going to do these things. The only thing that I can say is if you've had a bad experience, maybe that experience was for you to learn and to do better moving forward. I think people are always going to drink. I think people are always going to smoke. And for me, I would like to tell those people that do have these challenges, because there's a reason why they're drinking.
That's the question, like why? And if you get to the bottom of that why, it's now gonna be like, well, you know, it's just what I enjoy doing, because nobody enjoys getting so drunk.
It's what
Nobody-
it's what comes with it. And this is coming from a person that doesn't drink but understands people. It's like your friends are together. You have it's more than just the alcohol itself. The alcohol
I think
itself,
it's just in a
it's
way, it's
more
a
of a
tool.
tool. Yeah.
Like, you know, I think,
it's part of the whole experience.
and maybe it's because I can detach from certain things a little bit more easier than others. But like, it is essentially, you can use it.
But look at
As
it
a
this
tool.
way, Mark. Look at it this way. Honestly, we had them over for dinner, right? Multiple times. We're friends. Multiple times they've come to our house for dinner. We haven't had one drink.
Yeah.
Not one time. The thing is, sometimes like say for example, if Mark has a bunch of friends that are drinking, it's gonna be drink. But if he's with people that don't drink, it's no drink.
So Vari and I had an interesting conversation. We were talking about this subject on the way here to filming this podcast, and we were in the shops buying some food, and we had a guy talk to us about how he's been clean for X amount of years. And
From what substance?
From alcohol and drugs.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he uses I know, it was amazing.
It was so funny because
That's
we were
amazing.
literally just chatting to each other, and he was standing with his basket. And he's like, "Oh, I just overheard you talking
That's
about
amazing. Wow.
about alcohol and not drinking." And he said, like, I've been on this 12-step journey for 4 years, and I used to like run up and down the same road like high and intoxicated, and I've come from a family of people that have had like addictions, and I'm breaking that generational cycle by becoming sober and sticking with it. And it comes from a place of using the 12-step method, which is quite spiritual. And what is it, like the serving, the serving is a big part of it, and kind of giving away, like relishing your power, I think.
Yeah, so if you have a lot of times that he experienced negative things like resentment, hate, anger, all these things, he then translated that into taking a drink or having a drink or needing to drink in order to suppress that. So now he deals with a root cause of issues. But my point raising that was, and I think there's a reason why, as your friend, I can see why you were so against this, is because sometimes you have maybe, or a person may have taken it to the limit in order to then see, actually, this is not what I want.
Yeah.
And maybe some of the experiences that you have are in moderation.
Correct.
So it doesn't really, you don't see the danger of it. But what makes that man we met today, what made him an alcoholic versus someone else who just has a couple of drinks? We don't know that.
Yeah,
we don't know, and it's a dangerous.
If he didn't, what I'm trying to say is, if he didn't have alcohol, he would have found another substance. That's what I'm saying. These things are just tools, and essentially, like how we treat those. I think in this society there is this thing of like, well, if we use this, then this is 100% bad because it's caused that outcome. Granted, it can do that. It does do that, but also like let's look at the person wielding the tool. Are they drinking responsibly? Are they a responsible person? Because these things are still gonna happen. If he doesn't find alcohol, he will find something else. And it's like it's just honestly the way I think it is. I think we do have people that just kind of want to blame the tool and be like, well, look, alcohol is bad. I'm not saying alcohol is great. I'm not saying alcohol is good for you. It isn't. Should we all be drinking it? No. However, like if a guy has too much to drink and gets behind the wheel and accidentally kills somebody, and that's horrible, right? If that happens, he could have easily been looking at his phone. If he didn't have the alcohol, maybe he'd be looking at his phone. Maybe he'd be addicted to Instagram. Are you gonna blame Instagram then? Like, are we gonna start looking at the individuals who are actually carrying out these actions and hold them accountable for what they're doing? Yeah, these things are the cause, and yeah, these things are partly the cause of what they're doing. And if they weren't around,
But I think for me, it's like how normalized alcohol is. And
it's very, yeah, no, I agree.
How readily available it is, how normalized it is. It's part of social gatherings. It's almost like an excuse for so many activities. And this is where I would like to, people's decision to drink, I would like them to question themselves, like, are they drinking for the right reason? Are you drinking away your problems? Are you drinking away your insecurities? And maybe you should be, the money that you spend on night out, maybe you should be spending them on kind of getting to the bottom of your issues before you do have that drink and you actually have whatever, that glass of champagne because you're celebrating somebody's marriage. It's not sitting in the pub 3 nights a week whereby you're so unhappy with your life that this is the only way for you to kind of get through your week. This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
And succumbing to the peer pressure of like, oh, have another one, when you already can't even stand up. So this is the culture that I'm talking about. And I've been somebody who maybe has had like insecurities and lack of self-confidence. I've fallen into the have another one. Oh, come on, let just one more, don't go just yet. And one drink after another, and all of a sudden, like, the whole night is gone, and you wake up and you can remember what happened.
And there are guys who have taken advantage of that state that we've been in.
100%.
And thankfully, nothing serious has happened, but it could have.
And it has in other people's
And
lives.
it has in other people. There was one night that, or the next morning, I spoke to Varia, and I remember it was after this club we went to, and you were trying to wash your leg or something, and you fell over in the bathroom, and you said you almost cracked your head open and you hit your head really hard.
Yeah.
If she had cracked her head open, you had had enough to drink that you may have passed out, and you could have died.
Yeah.
And so there are... Do you know what I mean? It's scary, and there is a scary side.
And I think the reason I have such a strong stance on it, because I have taken to the extreme, and maybe a person who has 2 drinks a week at social gatherings, they don't have the same experience as I had. And I just don't want people that start drinking or continue drinking from a place of insecurity and the wrong reasons, feel just wanting to fit in, and or finding like a group of people that will accept them, who end up being people that just like to drink a lot of alcohol. So before you commit to that type of lifestyle, have a think. Why is it that you drink? Is there like better avenues for you to take? Are there better solutions for you to get to that place that you're yearning and looking for, and find at the bottom of a drink?
And sort of, you're absolutely right. And to wrap up on everything, I think there's a reason why a lot of spiritual pathways, you mentioned Buddhism as one, Christianity, Islam, so many others, drinking is sort of frowned upon, and getting drunk especially is frowned upon, because it sort of blocks your pathway to enlightenment, and it blocks your pathway to feeling connected with God and this spiritual universal energy. So I'm sure as you wrap up, we'll put some links to, if you have any issues with drinking, if you're struggling, want people to talk to, talk to us
There's
about it.
support
There is support out there.
And we support you. We're here.
And we do. And we've been through it, so we don't judge either. So, wrap up.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Every little thing is gonna be alright.
Hey, Mark, take us out.
Oh, wow. Wow. Well, that concludes our episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are going to give you a whole bunch of lists and topics to look at. If you are struggling with drinking, or just feeling socially anxious, there are places and there are support groups. We are going to have a whole bunch of links out there for you to look at and read. And yeah, thank you for tuning in. Remember to follow us on YouTube, the T4 Podcast, and Instagram, the Take 4 Podcast. Join us next week. We are going to be talking about a mystery topic. We've not revealed it yet, but we will. So please keep an eye out on the socials for that. We are going to bring it up, and we are gonna discuss it. Maybe actually, we might ask you guys, because you're our fan base, and we only want to serve you guys. So like, if there's anything that you want us to talk about, if there is something that you would like discussed that we have maybe missed, bring it up in the comments. We're always watching, we're always listening. So please, have a good one, and yeah, see you soon.
See you soon.